Good news, everyone. Student loan debt cancellation is happening, but not the one that you're thinking of. It's actually a very small segment of it. But hey, good news is good news. So the US Department of Education is going to be forgiving nearly $6 billion of accrued federal student loan debt that was generated for people who went to Corinthian Colleges, which is a chain of for-profit colleges that has a long documented history of utterly deceiving students into going there and racking up absolutely magnificent amounts of student loan debt. So this cancellation is going to affect all borrowers who attended Corinthian schools and took out loans between 1995 to 2015. It's expected to total about $5.8 billion for 560,000 borrowers, which is a lot. That's on top of the 100,000 Corinthian debtors who have already received full or partial relief. And thankfully, in this case, those who are going to get the cancellation are not going to have to apparently do anything. They're just going to receive letters that they received a discharge. So that's good. The opposite of even the conversations about $10,000 of cancellation for all those with student loan debt, which thanks to the fact that they're going to be baking in income requirements and stuff like that, God only knows the paperwork you're going to have to go through. But considering Corinthian Colleges passed, this is great news. We've talked about it in the past. We're going to update you a little bit. They were found to have aggressively pitched students on enrollment, offering loans that were up to 10 times the comparable cost of a community college degree. Job placement statistics were fudged. Instructors included disbarred lawyers. Students were given college credit for externships at fast food restaurants. Several final exams were open book, and some involved playing board games. That is the only part of this that I don't have any problem with. After graduating, students were sent off with credentials that actively harmed their career prospects, and they spoke of being laughed at in job interviews. So look, devastating that so many people put their hopes and aspirations into going to this place, generated a backbreaking amount of debt, and then found it actually harder to get jobs in the future. This was a massive injustice. And so thankfully, after only 20 years after some of them went to this school, the cancellation is coming. So Adrienne, in this area, this is the good news that we've got.
And I really want to be grateful for it, but of course I can't, because there's so many people out there who definitely need debt relief for student loans who didn't go to Corinthian colleges. And also too, the government knew Corinthian colleges was engaged in this fraudulent behavior. So as far as I'm concerned, those students shouldn't pay regardless. So I don't really want to say thank you at all when this should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, and I wonder, for those who spent years paying down the debt, do they get compensated for? I know that's the conversation that always happens when we talk about generalized student loan debt cancellation. Well, what about me when I already paid it? Yeah, but in this particular case, they were definitely defrauded. Like that is a different sort of thing. I don't know that conversation is even going to be had, but yeah, it's just devastating that you would do this. And look, the thing is that there's a version of this kind of baked into all student loan debt. It might not be as egregious as Corinthian in terms of like the actively lying about your job prospects and all that, having the far higher interest rates and everything. But I mean, can we really say that 17 and 8-year-olds who are signing on to these student loans really understand exactly what all of it means? Can really know exactly what their job prospects are at that moment, let alone 4 or 8 years later based on the degree that they get? A lot of it is speculation, and they are encouraged to spend a lot of money, encouraged not just by the schools, but also by every authority figure in their lives. You are brought up and told, here are the things you have to do, and you better do them. If you don't do them, you're lazy. And then when you do them, then they'll laugh in your face when you say, hey, maybe the debt doesn't need to be as bad as it is for all this stuff that you seem to indicate is mandatory.
Yep, I definitely think that they're missing something here. And also too, this really does seem like it's an effort to kind of stave off the calls for student loan debt relief from the Biden administration, and it's not going to work. You need to do more. Again, this is something that should have been done for these attendees of Corinthian colleges a long time ago. Apparently, they had made petitions to the Obama administration, and then those applications for debt relief had kind of just sat there during the Trump administration. So to finally do it now is great, but at the same time too, again, Biden doesn't get any credit or any kudos here when we were talking general debt relief for student loans for the vast majority of the public. And that's something that I would like to see actually put into place.
Yeah, exactly. He has nothing to do with this. And even if he did, this would be $6 billion out of well over $1 trillion in total student loan debt. So I'm not a great mathematician. That's like at most 1/3, that's being canceled. So no, it's a small fraction and it's not related to him. Interestingly, it is related to Kamala Harris. So back when she was the Attorney General of California, she sued the company back in 2013. Now, basically all of the campuses closed in 2015. So they didn't last much longer than this. I saw some people in the chat asking if they still operate. No, they had a lot of campuses and they had a lot of students for a number of years, but it stopped in 2015. Anyway, she had the case against Corinthian, and they ended up getting a judgment of $1.1 billion, including $820 million in restitution on behalf of students. There were civil penalties as well. That is part of what generated the fact that some students' debt has already been canceled. And we do want to give credit to what's called the Corinthian 15. It's a group of debtor activists who spent literally years fighting to get to where now this has reached, where people will get their money back. They had each individually been saddled with tens of thousands of dollars in debt, degrees that they considered utterly worthless. And they worked with the Debt Collective, which I believe we've had representatives from the Debt Collective on before. Anyway, that's the nation's first debtors union to try to get this cancellation. And so that is awesome. That still leaves, tens and tens of millions of students, burdened by a massive amount of debt. But it's good news for these. And hey, maybe if this news gets spread and people get excited around it, maybe that'll put a little bit of pressure on Joe Biden to go with the next step. Any other thoughts?
That would be really nice. Biden, do something, because it's kind of tiring now. We want the promises actually acted upon. I just feel like too often Biden's like, I may be the president and we have this issue, but gosh, what can I do about it? It's just like, do something, man.
I'm just the president. I'm so weak. I'm so weak.
I gotta reach across the aisle.
I know, exactly. I gotta spend, just give me like 6 more months reaching across the aisle. Just give me like 6 more months, come on. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.